you have an idea how is connected the work on policy recommendations and tools in the Grass Ceiling project and this European Policy Forum, that is kind of a tool and instrument to bring these external views to our work. Policy work is concentrated in a work package. This kind of project are organized in work packages that aims this co-creation of recommendations and tools for policy and knowledge and innovation systems that boost women's role in sustainable development, agriculture, and rural areas. Our project includes two specific tasks, focuses on the design of recommendations and tools. You can see here on this slide, I will minimize participants, who is leading the task. And two deliverables are expected, reports by the end of the project, but we will produce intermediate products to be able to influence the legislative framework from now to the end of 2025. As we see, we are in the momentum, then we will produce these additional policy briefs, a series of set of recommendations that able to use Grass Ceiling results, findings on the policy design. The recommendations will be focused to address issues at both EU level but also at national level. Of course, we will use our 9 living labs to these recommendations at national level. And the first set of policy recommendations will be shared with the European Policy Forum members and feed by also interviews with external and, of course, all the work with internal partners and living labs. The task 5.2, what just to see here is my colleague Serafin Pazos-Vidal that will speak later in this presentation, Sally Shortall, the coordinator of the project, and myself. And task 5.2 is dedicated to the tools to check and monitor the inclusion of women innovators. And we aim to prepare a policy toolbox that include different tools. 2 of them will be led by SETU, by the coordinator, and 1 will be by us. Before starting to speak about this list of data and indicators, I will give the floor to Sally if she wants to say something about the other templates.
Sure, thanks, Blanca. So, and again, this shows the interconnections of all the work packages, because this work is happening in work package 4, which is about benchmarking policy documents and then feeding the tools into work package 5. So the training webinar is completed. We did that last year and it's available on our website, but it's going to be made more publicly available very soon. And basically, it's kind of a webinar that teaches people how to benchmark documents. I'm hoping that it will be of wider use than just gender equality. I mean, I think it's a framework that could be used, for example, to benchmark climate change and policies, how effectively they're taking effect of that. The webinar looks at both national documents to benchmark for gender equality as well as the European documents. Those tools are currently being used. My colleague Charlene, who's here from the WEP, is leading on the benchmarking of the documents, the CAP, the long-term vision for rural areas, Green Deal, and Food to Fork. And they're most of the way completed and will be finished by the end of this year. The gender proofing template is something that will be developed next year in the light of all of the information that we've gathered from the benchmarking exercises. We all know that gender mainstreaming has had limited impact. But I also think that's partly because it's an extremely complex policy tool, and it's so complicated, it's very hard to get buy-in. So we're hoping that our gender proofing template will take some of the best components of gender mainstreaming, but perhaps provide a more simplified template that can be used in a policy context. So I think that's all I need to say, Blanca.
Thank you so much, Sally. And in addition to the tools that Sally presented, AEIDL is going to work on this third one, the list of data needed on women innovators. The work in this tool will start at the end of this year, 2024, and will be completed by the end of the project. It is inspired in the EU Digital Compass. It is going to be informed by the available Eurostat indicators disaggregated by gender and by grade of urbanization. We are also focusing on which are the CAP indicators on the PMEF framework. We are also having into account the agri-sustainability compass that was published by Commission a few months ago, which has a specific set of indicators on gender. Then with all this information, we want to build a tool that can take the form of a rural women innovation compass. We also aim to influence the Rural Observatory, which are the indicators that are being gathered by the Rural Observatory and the long-term vision for rural areas, and to what extent we can suggest a set or this list of data that needs to be also gathered at this both dimensions, gender and rural. Then we'll take the form of a multidimensional set of indicators that try to inform policy design, but also monitoring, evaluation, and implementation. I will go to the next slide. You have now an overview of what is going to be done at policy level in the project. I don't know why. Okay. And then your forum workshop, the Rural Path Community Group and the forum will be part of this co-design. We have developed this methodological approach that consists in interconnected phases. We have, of course, the discovery phase, where we review the relevant legislation and literature. We get inputs from the work and the results of other work packages in the project. We have the data collection with external experts, with living labs, and the identification of which are the necessary tools that needs to be developed. We then go to the development phase with the description of some policy insights that are needed at EU level, but also at national level, and ready to contribute to any EU consultation that can appear in the upcoming month for gender issues related to the design of the new CAP framework or any other relevant policy, the multi-annual framework, and so on. The assessment phase involves internal and external. We want to get this insight from the European Policy Forum, the Rural Path Community Group, and then together appraisal the alternative policies and solutions, and see also the quality, assurance of the quality of our policy proposals. And finally, of course, the generation of policy recommendations, but the use, communication, dissemination, and exploitation of results. And then you see collaboration of all partners, work package leaders, has a coordinator of the work package, the living labs, and so on, national external experts in this work. And just this has been developed in the last couple of months and will be shared after this event. We at AEIDL has been working on an inception report for our work on policy. It includes an historical review of gender equality in European politics and his global action from the 60s, a review of all gender strategies so far, and the key momentums from the 60s where gender entering the political agenda. We compiled assessment of the current gender equality strategy 2020-2025 from key organizations, but also the official ones from Commission. We had a section on gender considerations in policies linked to agriculture, rural and regional development. Also an historical review of how key support from agri-funds, EU funds, and ERDF has been developed so far. And then we include a section of what is expected from now. We take this union of equality that has been in the strategic report and also in the political guidelines. And we summarize latest updates on the last months on what is expected post 2025. And then, yes, we present the goals, the expected outcomes from the policy forum, and we include a really interesting section on relevant references, scientific papers, but also a compilation of legislation that will help you. This will be first shared internally at project level, and then it will be also shared with you. And now I give the floor to my colleague Serafin Pazos-Vidal for understanding better the European policy landscape and other opportunities at national level.
Thank you, Blanca. Very briefly, because it's at the time. As you know, the EU is reshaping itself for a new mandate. This is what's happening as we speak. So you see the graph there. Simpler than it is. We are now starting a new mandate. This we are, as Blanca mentioned, we conducting analysis of the new priorities and mission letters from the Commission, as well as the statements from the key players in the EU. What we can say at the moment, and you probably know that, is that the 8th of March 2025, there will be a new roadmap for women's rights, on new proposal work-life balance, gender-based paid and pension gaps, old age poverty. And later on, there will be also a gender equality strategy, including gender-based violence. This is something you probably know, but some of you might not know is that in July 2025, there will be the new proposal for the new EU budget, how to spend the money and how to actually make policies real. And in many cases, in many countries, in rural areas, EU funds, common agricultural policy, cohesion funds are the only, if not the main, source of policy change, policy and finance change. For that, I think I would like to stress there's going to be a much stronger link on reforms, and that will also is likely to have a much stronger dimension of gender. So, you know, in the past, increasingly gender has been a kind of a horizontal requirement. There's been some requirements in terms of implementation of policies and investment policies, for instance. Now it's likely to be much stronger. We have seen during the COVID recovery package negotiations and implementation, countries who were basically not dealing with a number of things like pensions or changing public administration, they were in a way very much compelled to do so in record time in order to get EU funds. Well, this is quite likely to happen from 2027 when the new budget starts. and there's going to be opportunity for this project to actually influence how these new requirements on gender will be introduced as part of the broad reforms the EU wants to instill on member states. To summarize, the climate is quite positive, and the tools, the leverage the EU will have to introduce gender mainstreaming in domestic policies, including rural policies, is going to be the stick is going to be much bigger than it was in the past. So I think it's something we can all be happy about that. I think I'm going to leave it there because of time, but just to give you a glimpse of what's going on and the assessment we are providing will provide further insights on that. I will just conclude to say that doesn't mean that existing policies will be abandoned. I mean, there will be increased opportunities for participation on domestic policies, both in terms of rural policies, equality policies, but also new emerging policies like the population brain drain or just transition. That is quite likely, coming back to what I said earlier, pretty much gonna be the gender dimension is gonna be much more stronger and gonna be much more compulsory. That's what I mean, than you have had in the past. So I think the opportunities are quite open now in this new cycle to actually give a key push to introduction of gender sensitive policies and investments at domestic level as well. I'm gonna leave it there. Thank you.